Now we can start.
Okay. She's a very formal voice. Let's do this. Okay. So again, my name is Alex Wright. I'm the library director. Helping me tonight is Ashton Wilson. She is the social media and programming coordinator for the library. She's going to be fielding the questions that will come in from the Facebook live. So if we do have some time where we lag, just know that we're waiting for individuals to type up their questions as we go tonight. Also in attendance, we have Kellen Taylor, the tech director for the school district. We have Jackie Crabtree, he is the mayor for the city. We also have Charlie Clark, who is the principal for the high school. And I know that later on this evening, we might have a few of the other principals coming on, as well as Keith, the superintendent. I do know that they had a Title I/PTO meeting tonight, so kind of threw off the schedule just a little bit. So these individuals were asked here tonight because they all will play a role in the discussion that we're going to be having as we go forward with this program suggestion, if we can even go forward with it. So that's why they are all present in the Zoom. So back in the spring, we applied for, or not early spring, we applied for a grant through Libraries Transforming Communities. And this grant addressed an issue, a concern that was happening in your community and how they could give you funds to help you address that. So we applied for this grant. We received said grant, national grant. We're very excited, yay us. And from that, our choice, the issue that we chose, and this is something that we've had dealings with in the past. And then when we posed the question through social media platforms, the individuals who responded also aligned with this as well. And that is starting a tutoring program in the library. So one primary contingency on receiving this grant is that in order to receive it, we have to have a public conversation. And so here we are tonight. We're going to have a community discussion, and this is just going to go into how do we do this, can we do this, and how the individuals that are present can help. Give me 1 second. I have massive dry mouth. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so continuing on. We will have some ground rules this evening. Again, this is not a debate or an argument. This is merely a community discussion. We ask that you show respect for others and seek to understand maybe their side of things. Questions and comments are to be kept brief so that everyone can have a chance to speak and focus on the issue at hand. And though tangents will arise, myself probably going to be the starter of all of them, just know that we need to try to stay focused on tonight's topic of tutoring within our community. All right, so okay, so over the years, we've tried to fill a need for tutoring here at the library for various reasons. That has failed, whether it be we can't keep the students continually coming here, we can't keep tutors on staff, we don't have the time to commit to this ourselves individually. There's a myriad of reasons. So when we approached this, I looked into the US Census data, as well as the Arkansas Department of Arkansas Department of Education data center, and I found some information that was a bit shocking to myself. And again, I might not have properly interpreted this information. I just used what was in front of me and gained what I thought they were saying, and I'd like to go over that with everyone. So This upper portion is from the census. So 11.5% of the town's residents have less than a high school diploma. 11.2% of the Pea Ridge households, don't have a computer. 29.6% of Pea Ridge households don't have internet. And 40.3% of Pea Ridge school district students attend college after high school. Of that 40.3, 59.2 require remediation, which is 2.6% higher than the state total. And again, of that 40.3%, 29.2 are economically disadvantaged. Again, if I misinterpreted this information, guys on the school board, I'm so sorry, school district. So, but this is just what I went and looked into, and I found it to be shocking. And I found it to be an issue that our community could address, so that our youth has a chance for success as they go on, if they choose to go into college, or even if just to graduate high school. So this leads me into my first question for this evening. Is, given this information, do you feel there's a need to create some form of tutoring program within the community? And anyone on the panel is allowed to just kind of just step in. I just ask that you don't overstep somebody while they're talking. And then we have Ashton again, who's going to be fielding the questions from Facebook. Someone may begin. Does anyone have any opinion on this? Do we feel there is a need?
Alex, there's always room for improvement.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry, Jackie.
That's okay. Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
Nope, go ahead. I'm late to the show. So
Okay. You're fine. No, I was just going to say that I think there's always room for improvement, no matter what our statistics are. There's always something that can be done to help someone, because everybody is not helped in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Mayor Crabtree. You know, I apologize for being a little bit late. I had another meeting I had to be at. What I see, you know, sometimes not everybody comes, when you read through those stats, you know, not everybody comes from the same environment at home and everything, and offering the opportunity for people to have that extra little bit of help. You know, mom and dad may not be around to help out, or whoever, or their guardians may not be able to. So I think this would be a good opportunity for our students to help each other and provide the tutoring and, you know, some help that they need outside the school day.
Okay. And again, we might have some lag between conversations just as we get answers from the Facebook. And Ashton, at any point, just interrupt. Oh, here she is.
I was just about to ask you, we actually do have a question from someone on Facebook. They asked how, in regards to the statistic about a computer, was that any technology in general or just a computer versus a laptop? Or did it get that specific?
I mean, that's just the census question, the census data that we answer every 10 years. So I guess it depends on the person's interpretation of what computer is, whether it's a you know, a large PC or a laptop. So I think that's one's kind of open for interpretation.
Is Kellen on?
Yes.
We did a survey, I think 2 years ago, with our elementary parents, and I believe we were around 80% of our student households at that time had some form of device at home. And that probably lines up with the census data that you have there on 29.6, because you got to remember the census data encompasses everyone within the district. And to be honest with you, if my parents were up here, I can probably honestly say that they probably don't have a device at their house.
Yeah, and again, this information is just what I could gather that kind of helps us give an idea of what we're going for. So were we to proceed with a form of tutoring that's offered through the library, would it be possible to do such a thing with it being student-led, incorporating individuals from the high school being the tutors, and then individuals within the community in the school district being the students that need tutoring? Is that something that is possible to work with, to collaborate on?
I guess I'll probably need Kellen to help me answer this a little bit. Our district is 1-to-1 on technology with our students. All of our students, and I can't remember what it is. I think it's grade 7 up off the top of my head that take their devices home daily to work with. And so in my opinion, yes. Kellen, what's yours? Hey,
Oh, Kellen, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Hey, Alex.
yes, sir.
Good.
All right. I guess I didn't quite catch what the question was. We definitely have devices in students' hands that go home from 7th through 12th grade, as Mr. Martin said. What was the question, I guess, Alex?
Would a collaboration such as this be possible? My main concern is if we were to partake in this, there is such restrictions on the children's devices that if we were to go outside the bounds of what is typically within the school's requirements, that they may not be able to participate on their own devices that they have.
Oh, I see. So would it be possible to do tutoring on the school-owned devices for these students? Is that the question?
Yes, yes.
We should be able to, even if it doesn't work right now, we should be able to work around that and make it work with whatever product we use, we would use for that.
Okay, okay. Now, did I hear you speak up, Charlie?
Yeah, Alex, sorry about that. I'm having some headphone issues. But no, from the high school perspective, I don't see any issues with our kids being able to do that. It'd probably be very productive for us, for the students to learn how to help others. And then, of course, depending on how it plays out, there's always a need for community service and opportunities for our kids to give back.
Okay, yes.
Alex, I'm sorry. We have a question. We have a couple questions on Facebook. One person asked, how is tutoring different than remediation? How are we going to define that as, I guess, the difference between remediation at school and then tutoring in a library environment? And then I'll move on to the next one shortly.
I guess I probably need to answer that one.
I don't know.
Remediation is for I guess it is kind of blurry. When we remediate, we have students who have a specific skill set that isn't there, and we're helping them through the school day. In my opinion, and Alex or Ashton, please correct me if I'm wrong, this program is designed to help students with the homework that they have that day that's assigned to them in class. Is that correct?
Yes, so that's the primary goal, is to help them with the homework that they have. But also if there is a specific subject that the student is struggling,
Correct.
then yes, we can continue to offer assistance in that as well.
Thank you, Keith. We also have a question going back to the technology that is available for members in our community. And they ask, do you think that the hotspots the school gave out during COVID changed those numbers? I think in regards to the technology that is accessible.
I'll take that if you want. The hotspots definitely helped and make that number a little better as far as the internet goes. What we still saw was a lot of students or families that don't have internet. They live in more rural areas. They're typically lower in the valley there. So a lot of times they have trouble even with hotspots getting cellular signal. So it did help, but there is still some families that don't have access to internet, wired or wireless.
Thank you, Kellen.
Alex, I got a question. I guess stepping back a little bit further on this, the tutoring piece of this, we're looking at doing that all via Zoom technology, whatever. It's not going to be any one-on-one. Is that correct?
So when this was originally pitched for the grant, everyone was online. So yes, that was the original purpose. As things have slowly opened up, there is the opportunity to meet in person. If again, obviously, if parents or guardians are open to it on both sides. But that is a question, is if we were to offer it online, Kellen already answered one of my questions, was are hotspots even, because we have the ability to, with this grant fund, to purchase hotspots. Is that something that we should even invest in if the school already has them, or if they're not exactly helpful for the rural areas? So our question right now is, would it be beneficial to do so online, or do we think that it would be more beneficial to start a one-on-one program?
Okay, on the one-on-one, we would have to have some way of vetting the individuals that are tutors, either through background checks, that type of scenario. And I think we would also, now this is personal view coming from me, we would need to have those tutoring sessions somewhere, either in the library or something like that, somewhere, so it could be monitored.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the students' safety.
Yeah, I agree with Mayor on that. You would never want to have a one-on-one tutoring session where someone's going to someone's home. It would have to be somewhere. Oh, the only place I can think of, if the library's running it, they're in the room that you can almost rent for for meetings and stuff from the library in that east side of the building and whatnot. I think you will have diminished or fewer people participating in it, because in my opinion, the goal is they can call in quick, get a little bit of help that they need, and move on with their day during a certain time frame that y'all have. If you got to get in your car and drive up there and check, a child just may not have access to that.
We actually have a couple of questions in regards to that point, Mayor Crabtree and Keith. The first one is, the tutors are to be students, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yes. How would those tutors be chosen? Would we choose them, or would school officials propose that they be part of this program?
In my opinion, that would kind of be a joint effort. You would only want people who would want to, I guess you would almost do an application process to go through that would be, Charlie, do you agree with this? It would kind of be vetted through both of us, both library and school?
Yes, sir. I think that's exactly right. You'd have an application process. You'd have volunteers. We'd need to set criteria, and that would be both for on-site or virtual. Either way, we'd need to go through probably the same process to collect students that want to be involved.
On that note, the same person asked if the student tutors would have access to a certified teacher in that subject. So if they're tutoring biology, they would have access to a biology teacher at the high school or junior high.
Yeah, Ashton, I'd answer that with I have no idea. We'd have to see what the time frame is and all that. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Clark. Could we, I don't know, in point in time, at that immediate time, would they? But would our staff be probably open to a question that someone had? Absolutely. But I would hope if you have a student that's taking biology or algebra or whatever it is, and they're having an issue beyond what this tutoring program could have, that we would have the conversation directly with the teacher. Does that make sense?
I think that answers this person's question. And then I think it was also brought up earlier about transportation to the library being an issue. A Facebook user asked, how will we serve the children in our community who need the tutoring but may not have transportation to and from the library?
I would also add on to that, the ones that Kella mentioned that are in the rural areas that wouldn't have access to do so via Zoom or whatever platform we utilize for that. Would there be a way of setting up some kind of, I don't want to say program again, but initiative to where maybe a bus drops them off here at the library on specific days? Just something that came to mind.
I think we may be able to work something out as long as it coincides directly with the release of school, and then we have parent permissions to drop off, at the library. But the thing that I will not have an answer for right now, and I don't know if I will, is when y'all are done with your tutoring program, let's say it's from 3:45 to 5 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, I will not have a bus that will take the child home because our bus routes we've already ran the routes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we can set it up to where the bus can drop off at library, and we would have to work out the requirements I would have with that, because and we can go about that later if we need to. But getting you to the library, yes, ma'am, I think I can. Getting you from the library to your home, I don't think we can do that because our buses have already ran for the day.
Okay. Thank you. One thing that was brought up that I'd like to touch back on was about having access to the student's teachers. Or a teacher that can help the subject. Would it be possible, and again, this is assuming that everyone is appropriately vetted, approved, and then assigned a student to tutor, would it be possible for said tutor to receive contact information for that student's teachers on those subjects, so that if there is a specific question that arises on a problem, they have the ability to reach out? Or is there some kind of encroachment on privacy rights that would come up at that moment?
Repeat your question, please.
So would the tutors have the ability to have contact with their student that they're tutoring's teacher? Or is that an encroachment on privacy rights?
I think you're walking a fine line with the privacy acts that our kids, for records and everything. I think I would need it on paper and to be able to review it like that. I hate to give that answer on a Facebook forum, and my gut instinct says no. And I guess that's my answer right now, is I don't think that's possible. The content, yes. Specific information about an individual student, no, ma'am.
So what steps does the school currently have in place for students who are struggling academically?
Oh yeah, Alex, I'll take that one. So I think the question was brought up earlier about the difference between I guess remediation and tutoring. And so remediation would be kind of the school required side of that. A lot of times, a lot of our teachers have their classroom doors open around 7:30 and don't close until around 4, so kids can come in before or after. But then we also have an intervention time. It's at least 3 days a week, and on most weeks, 3 days a week, and sometimes twice a week.
time a teacher can pull back any students that they want to spend more time with.
And is that a required process?
Oh, Alex, yeah, that cut out on me. That is a required process, the RTI time.
Okay.
Yeah, from the elementary standpoint, I'll speak for K6. They have a time called What I Need, and that's where we use database decision making to see where kids have gaps and overlaps and everything. We can also use it to remediate and extend as well when a kid has when one of our students has a good grasp and they can move on and extend their knowledge, and that is built in daily to the schedules at the primary and intermediate. And I believe it's either for 30 or 45 minutes a day, depending on the building, but they have that scheduled in daily to break the kids up into groups specifically on what they need based on data sets.
So, thank you, Keith. Other than the library, and this is just an open, is there another space? Is there another space? Say that this program becomes very popular. We are a small town and we are a small library. So is there an opportunity to utilize school resources to host the tutoring?
Yeah, that's where you would come in, and we could provide you with the space for that if needed.
Is there opportunity for that after school, or is that all within the school time frame?
Oh, no, ma'am, I was only talking after school.
So if, and this is assuming that all students have, well, maybe that's the question. Do all students have a form of free time? And I say that loosely, but a form of time, whether that be, I know they do like studying or all these, they have like, it's not how it was when I was in school. They have breakout sessions where they can like do their homework and focus on a particular subject. Is that something that all students have access to? And if so, would it be possible to work a tutoring session in during those times?
I would say that is a question that needs to be answered by each individual building principal on what their schedule is. At your elementary levels, you're going to have very little flexibility on schedule because it's not class-based. They stay with their teacher and everything. So I hate to say this, that's probably a question I can't answer tonight without getting in contact with each building principal.
Okay.
The other thing I would add is your elementary students aren't being assigned homework that I'm aware of. I think that more starts at maybe like 7th grade, or is it? And correct me if I'm wrong, someone else. But I think that homework doesn't start until quite a bit older.
So yeah, the primary understanding for the younger ones that we've been in contact with is if they're below what's expected of them in certain areas. So if they're having difficulties with, and I don't want to be like alphabet, but that's what's coming to mind right now. With very basic things that they're learning right now, individuals who are good with children and can provide maybe some one-on-one time with them. What we have done here several times in the past is reading buddies, and I know I have a student who has difficulty reading within his age range, and he has a lot of energy, and so being able to provide more of a one-on-one time for that could be where our opportunities are for elementary, if there is interest in that. One question that I actually received outside of this was, is this something that could be applied to homeschool students as well? Would we be able to use the high school tutors to help out with a homeschool student?
From my understanding, y'all are the Pea Ridge Community Library. That would be your that would be the frameworks that y'all ran, that y'all had for the program and everything. I personally don't see a problem with it. But I think that's more on how y'all write and implement your grant.
Mhm. Now, another thing was, would this be beneficial to do one-on-one tutoring sessions or a tutor with, say, 3 students? Do we see benefits in that?
Okay, you cut out for a second. Were you basically asking, does it need to be one-on-one or in groups of 3, 5, small group setting?
Would it be more like, does it have to be, but more, do we see benefits in doing it as a group? Or do we think that one-on-one is the avenue that we need to focus on?
Oh, I think you would need to focus on what the need is. And that's hard to give an answer to until you have students signed up and what the needs are, because if you have a child in Mr. Clark's building who is I don't know, I'm gonna say algebra, that just always comes to mind. I guess it's first in the alphabet and everything, that needs some help with an algebra problem. That may be a complete different situation than developing almost a Zoom meeting for kids to log into, and you're doing a story read with them and a read aloud and things like that. So I think that will be a moving target based on what the needs of the kids that you have that are in the program. Are the kids going to sign up, or is it just log in and ask for help? Does that make sense?
Yes. And that's also another question as well, is as how would we go about giving this information out to all of the schools individually, so that students could sign up for this program, whether it be to tutor or to be tutored.
I think if you're going to search that out, that's where you almost run it through our school social media platforms, as well as the city of Pea Ridge and I would assume y'all have a Pea Ridge Community Library social media footprint, and you just advertise through there.
Okay. Would it be possible to send out, say, applications? I know our little dude gets like little like pamphlets. I say like pamphlets, like it's magical, in the in his little folder that he takes home. I know that is obviously different for high school. They don't come home with a folder every evening, but is there a way for, if the library created the content and the application after reviewing it with everyone in the school district to make sure that it is in line with what it has to be, for that to be sent home?
I hate to ask this, an application to tutor or an application to be in the program?
For that one, I would think that it was more an application to be in the program. The tutor one is more, it would be more in depth, but let's say it's an application to be tutored.
Okay, I think that's where, yeah, we could send paper information home that y'all had, like a flyer and whatnot.
Mhm.
But it all boils down to in my opinion, the parent registering the child to participate in the program. And I think it's just providing as many avenues as possible with your program to reach those kids. I think one of the things that y'all will have to look at is, let's say you have X number of tutors. What can X number of tutors do? And because you can't have, in my opinion, you can't have 150 kids sign up for virtual, to log in and for some tutoring. If you have 5 kids that are being the tutors, they'll be overran.
Mhm.
I think it's a balance of figuring out how many kids you have. And I'm sorry I was late for the beginning of it. I don't know if you are paying the kids to tutor, if it's volunteer or whatnot, but you cannot, I think it's based on how many kids that you have actually signed up to be the tutors.
So I would love to be able to pay them, but I cannot.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't
No,
know.
no, this would be for volunteer hours. I know
Right,
that it's a requirement to graduate for a lot of the high schoolers, or for every high schooler. Is that, correct me if I'm wrong? Is that a requirement?
Yeah, Alex, it's not a requirement to graduate, but a student can receive a community service, basically course credit for completing X amount of hours.
Okay, okay. So yes, we would be offering volunteer hours for participating in this program. Do we have a question, Ashton?
We do. We have a couple comments actually. Could the teachers recommend students for tutoring themselves? Be like, I have this student, they are struggling with algebra, to continue on Keith's tangent. Could that be something that could be organized? Would that be beneficial?
Yeah, Ashton, I'll jump in on that one. I think the teacher could recommend to the student that they enroll in the tutoring program, but I don't know that it would be appropriate for the teacher to send out the other student's name to another entity to enroll them back into a program. That's kind of back to Keith's initial point about student privacy.
yeah, I think it's about the teachers giving the information or the resource available to the student or to the parent. And then it would be that household's responsibility to contact the community library to be the one that that puts that in motion, and not the school district.
Thank you. We also had a question. It's a bit of a long one. A patron states, I'm concerned that such a small percentage of Pea Ridge graduates go on to college. How can we shift the thinking in our district so that we continue to provide trade education for those students entering the workforce after graduation, while at the same time giving more focus to academics?
I think you already have that with Pea Ridge Manufacturing and Business Academy. And I'll let Mr. Clark and Mr. Martin talk to that.
Yes. Okay, Charlie's still there. If even last week, for example, we had our college and career fair. I don't know, Mayor, I don't know if you were able to attend or not, but it was a great event. We had Mr. Rick Neal, who used to be superintendent here, who works for the governor right now. We had Joe Rollins from the Northwest Arkansas Economic Council speaking, and it's about connecting kids and moving them on, whatever their next step in life is after they're 18 years old. You are right. We have that 40% or so of our kids that go on to traditional post-secondary education, but traditional post-secondary education isn't necessarily the route that some of our kids need to take, and that's connecting them with either employers, with places with vocational, and I don't want to use vocational, seems like a harsh word on that, but places like NWTI that do welding, construction, and things like that. So it is the person who wrote that in, they are correct. Our job is to help serve our kids, whether they're going to be college, career, or maybe a blend of both, where we have a kid who starts out with a certification when they leave us, but they're using that certification to increase their wage while they're going through college to help pay for their college, so that their end goal may be a blend of both. And I know that's a lot of words for a question, but yes, ma'am, we need to make sure that we ensure that our kids are ready for the next chapter in their life, that when they walk across the stage and shake Mr. Clark's hand, that they're ready to go on and be productive and earn a livable wage.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. We also have a question could progress be measured for the students receiving tutoring? Will their teachers be involved in this tutoring process?
Honestly, that's something that we would have to work through. We do have pre and post testing that we do while kids are going through like units and whatnot. We have, oh my goodness, it just slipped my mind. ACT Aspire testing that we do at the end of the year, and we also do MAP testing. It's kind of like at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the year. So at predicting if that was a variable, if tutoring was the variable that made the impact, I don't know if we can do that, but the parent will be able to see if the child's progressing, and the child will be able to see, and so will the teacher, if the child is showing growth throughout the school year.
Yeah, I don't know that we'd have a percentage that we could track anything like that, but I think there would be some way, like Mr. Martin's talking about, of monitoring the progress. If we don't have some way of monitoring that, then we don't know where we're just spinning our wheels or we're making progress.
So one idea that came to mind regarding that was at the end of each session, having kind of a bit of a survey for each time. Was there any problems that you had figuring out whether it's the tutor and the student are right fit together? Maybe the tutor doesn't know exactly what the student needs tutoring on. And so having those surveys regularly, as well as sending out questionnaires to the parents, not as regular as the surveys, just saying, do you feel like your student is still doing good? And again, I don't know that that's stepping on anything privacy if the parent has reached out to us.
Well, I think on the survey end, you're having the parent, I would assume, grant permission for them to participate with y'all. I think what you're calling that is kind of like are you going to try to do an exit survey like after every session or after so long?
Yes, thank you for participating today. What were some positive things that happened? What were some areas that maybe you were concerned about or
Sure.
something that you wanted to bring up? And those I would actually give to the students themselves if they were able. If they're elementary, I don't want to deal with that. But for the older students, just kind of to give feedback on their time in this.
I think that's all determined on the way you set up the program.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd want the students to feel like they were having to take a test after each one of their sessions, because some students have test anxiety or I don't know if that's a term that they use anymore or not. So I think we'd have to be careful in doing something like that. But again, I think we need some way of understanding our progress.
Yeah, I think that may be almost a survey initiated by y'all that you would want to, after a certain amount of time, not one session, because you may have someone who just participates for, Lord, they may just have a question on the quadratic equation. I mean, it's that simple. And that's when I hear tutoring, I think I'm stuck on something. I'm going to call this number one time and get some help. And you're going to have that. And then you may have some kids that really want to make contact daily and everything, because sometimes it's more than tutoring. They're getting the experience of talking to and, being part of a program outside of the school day. And so I think you're going to have different variables that you have to look at, whether it's, and that may be where you get the contact information from the parents, and when they sign up, and then you pulse out a survey every so often just to grab feedback from the parents.
Mm-hmm. we're getting closer to our time. So I did kind of want to pose a question specifically to Kellen. So given that so this grant, we already received it. It's just the whole part of it is that we have to facilitate a conversation. And then from there, what are the areas that we have the ability to help in? We got $3,000. And so we've determined that we don't need to utilize using that money to purchase our own Chromebooks. Would it be beneficial for us to purchase hotspots, or is every student not every student, only the ones that need them would have them, I assume. Yes. So from a tech perspective, Kellen, do you think that there's anything beneficial that we could, other than, improving our Zoom membership to allow multiple meetings, do you think there's anything beneficial that we could purchase with this?
I think the Zoom is the big one there. Zoom with to make sure that if you're going to do any kind of remote learning, and we do one-on-one with students, whatever product we use, if we're using Zoom, whatever we make sure we're purchasing one that records at all times. That way we have that to protect everybody. That's probably the number one concern I would have. And then we need to see what kind of cost that is before we go on beyond that, in my opinion.
All right. So Ashton, did we have any further questions from Facebook or elsewhere before I move on?
I do not believe so, but those who are watching, continue to put them in the comments, please.
Okay. So as we kind of finish up here, did you guys, the panel in attendance tonight, did you guys have any concerns or questions that you felt weren't touched on this evening?
No. My goal with, from a school district perspective is supporting y'all in doing this. I think it's a good opportunity for our students for being the tutor, and I guess the 2D. I don't know if that's the right word, but to give them that opportunity, because when it comes to being the tutor, one of the best experiences you can have is helping someone else, and having that experience of helping someone else in a time that they need. And so I think that's a great thing. I think there's probably quite a few details to work out. We don't mind helping where we can. It's just, getting it organized is always the hardest part.
Anybody else before we proceed on? Okay, well, assuming that we don't have any questions, since we have a few comments, we don't have any questions on Facebook. I want to thank everyone for attending this evening. The next step for this, as Keith mentioned, is kind of building the plan for how we're going to do this. That will take. Proceed.
I do have a question.
Okay.
When is your goal to implement? When's your time frame for implementation?
I don't have a time frame for implementation on this. It was a time frame for holding community conversations.
Gotcha.
Literally, the primary goal of this grant was to, I had to take training on how to facilitate conversations. It's how to teach librarians, specifically in small and rural communities, how to have a conversation with their community and address a concern. So that was the main thing. But as far as this, I don't foresee it starting until, given my times.
Oh, okay. I'm going to jump in as the programming director, coordinator around here. I would say probably early 2022.
After holiday break.
I was going to ask you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I foresee, because yeah, we're getting near where holidays are going to be coming in. We've already got programs established for the remainder of the year and going into the new year. So a lot of background details to get everything built up. And obviously we'll still collaborate with everyone needed to make sure that it fits in line with us working with you, the school district. So yay, that's exciting. Thank you guys for attending this evening. Thank you everyone on Facebook for commenting and being here as well. If you guys have any further questions, if you guys can think of any questions down the line that you might have, concerns that you might have, just feel free to shoot me an email, alex.wright@cityofpearidge.com, and I can try and answer it to the best of my abilities. But I think that is it. And so I want to thank everyone for coming tonight.
Thank you. Y'all have a great evening.
Bye.
Thanks.